get ready to get sticky. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Corona Crush is creating Jewish couples always. Join the Facebook group. Just search Corona Crush and look out for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. They're 100% free and 100% Jewish. Hey everybody, for some reason I've really been gatekeeping this episode and waiting for a special occasion to put it out when honestly I don't know why. It's an awesome episode, and so this is going to be my Hanukkah gift to you, but I'm just letting you know I've been gatekeeping this episode for over a year, so if references or anything sound a little bit old, that's why. But honestly, it's still an amazing episode, and I hope you all enjoy, and happy Hanukkah! Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sticky Situations. Stop laughing. I already told you the name. Stop. Are you going to laugh like this through my whole intro? Okay. I'm your host, Rachel, but you already know that and remember me because I'm unforgettable. Everybody, you would think after almost 29 years of knowing me, she'd be used to this. Everybody, remember to subscribe or follow on whatever platform you're listening on. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much whatever, Google Podcasts, pretty much whatever platform podcasts are available. If there's a platform that you would like us to be available on that we are not, then please reach out. I'll give you the contact information momentarily. Please like Sticky Situations page on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at Sticky Situations Pod. Follow us on TikTok, also at Sticky Situations Pod. I know I'm slacking on the TikTok. I'm working on it. It's a lot of work. It's hard. I have a real job. But the TikTok, I think I'm funny, so I try. Yeah. And if you would like to be a guest on my podcast, you can reach out you can DM me on Instagram at Sticky Situations Pod, or you can send me an email at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Also, if you would like to date me or any of my other previous upcoming, any single guests, you can also reach out. I have applications ready. So serious inquiries only. She doesn't believe me that I have applications. She thinks this is all a joke, and you're about to see who my extra special guest is, so I guess we'll jump in. So everybody, give a warm welcome to my actually very, very, very extra special guest. Maybe the most special guest I'll ever have, but we'll see, because I have another guest who's also extra special, but I don't know. I can't really play favorites to say who's more special. But anyway, everyone, please welcome my mom. Mom, hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, everybody.
She was laughing through my whole intro, and you would think she'd be used to me by now. She's known me for almost 29 years, and yeah, almost 29 years, and so yeah, you would think she would know me by now to know my shtick, but I still make her laugh, everybody, so my mom's my biggest fan.
Yes, that is the truth.
My dad probably sees right through it, but we'll see when we get to his episode. But anyway, Mom, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rachel?
Hi, Mom. Can you, let's give my listeners, well, you guys know she's my mom, so, but Mom, I ask all of my guests what their age, location, and relationship status is. So, can you just give my listeners an idea?
Well,
even though they know you're my mom.
I'm over 35.
Well, yeah, I mean, she has to be over 29, so.
I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I am married.
Yes, she
to
is.
Rachel's other special guest.
Hopefully. We'll see. He told me he doesn't know if his stories are appropriate, so I don't know what that means, but I don't know if I want to know what that means. But we'll see. Okay, so Mom, do you wanna just jump right in and start telling me some of your stories?
Sure. I think that some of my...
Oh, and I'm just letting you guys know, my mom never talks about her dating life before my dad. I've heard the story of how she's met my dad a few times, and I've heard about, when they dated and things like that, and she can get more into it. Honestly, if I was her, I don't know why she married him, but, based on their dating experience, because, you guys know I have high standards. But she can get into that later. So I've never heard any of these stories aside from the one she may or may not tell about my dad. The only time I've ever heard her talk about any other guys she's dated was one time we were all, this was years ago, we were at my grandparents' house trying to clean it out before we moved them into like a retirement community, and her and my aunt were looking up their ex-boyfriends on Facebook. That's the only time. And then my aunt told me a couple stories, but not really, and I don't remember any of it. So anyway, Mom.
Yes.
Do you want to get into it?
Well, I think one of the funnier stories, and it's not really a dating story, but it was, I had broke up with an ex-boyfriend, and he was actually engaged to somebody else. And we happened to be, my friends and I happened to be at a bar one night, and a whole crowd, he came in with his friends, but he didn't see me. And his friend came up and asked me to dance, and I accepted. And when he looked to see who his friend was asking to dance, his face fell to the floor. And then
Even
he came
though he
over
was engaged to someone else?
Yes.
Are they
And
still married?
it was there. I don't know. I don't follow him on Facebook. I can never find.
Is that the one you couldn't find?
I don't know. Aunt Gail and I were looking up different ones, but some of our funnier stories. Now Rachel said she's heard the story about how I met her dad.
We can do that one at the end. We'll talk about Dad at the end, especially because he's watching. He'll have his chance to talk about Mom.
My funnier dating stories were, I got fixed up a lot when there was a friend of mine, her mom found, she was friends with a family that had a son. They were a Jewish couple, and she used to, I think I went out on 2 dates with him. He just wasn't my type. But people were constantly trying to fix me up because I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, which is a small community, not very big. It's grown, in the Jewish community, it's grown more since I've left. But I used to go, I was a member of part of NCSY, and I used to go and I would meet a lot of males, but never anyone who I dated. We just always had a lot of friendships, and we would correspond a lot together. But so my funny dating stories are more with Rachel's father because we were long distance for 2 years.
Oh yeah, she'll get into the story of how they met. But you don't want to tell any stories about not Dad? Okay, Mom, let's hear some of your stories. That's just a list.
Yes. So when I was 18 years old, and I was in NCSY, and I met a very nice Orthodox Jewish boy, and we were friends, and then it became a little bit more. We had a really good summer and had a great time, but then when he moved back to Brooklyn, he came to work with his brother, and when he moved back to Brooklyn, I then went on to college, and it was my freshman year, and I got a phone call from him one day, and he told me that his parents wouldn't approve of me because I'm not religious enough. And so that kind of broke my heart.
Joke's on him today.
Yeah, really.
She's frommer than I am.
Yeah.
From means more religious. But, like, you should see her in her skirts and her shaitel and... Yeah.
So, yeah.
So whoever this guy is, if you're listening to this podcast, joke's on you. You could have been my dad.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't have had the Rachel that I had if he was.
Yeah, probably not. No, I'd be boring.
So,
boring.
So when I was in college, one of my good friends was friends with a senior. I was a freshman, he was a senior, and we became friends. And then it kind of turned into a romance. So from second semester on, we dated, but my mom and dad didn't know about him because he was forbidden. And so that ended when I left. I left and didn't go back to University of Iowa, and he ended up getting engaged to somebody else, which broke my heart. And he also was at a bar one time when I was there with my friends, and he was there with a group of guys, and one of his friends came up and asked me to dance, and he didn't see me, but I saw him. And when he came up, this ex-boyfriend of mine looked to see who his friend asked to dance, and when he saw me, his face dropped. So then he came over and talked to me after that, but he was engaged to somebody else, so that didn't go on. And I also had a good friend of mine had a brother who I actually have a picture of him when he was younger. I don't have one when he's older. And he, so we had to sneak around again. And then during that time, I met a so-called nice Jewish boy who was a lawyer and was about 5 years older than me. And so I decided that would be the better way to go. And so I broke up with him and broke his heart. The unfortunate thing is the Jewish lawyer was not very nice. And he was very critical of me. And anytime I said something, he put me down. And he was just, whenever he would ask me something and I would say, I'm not sure, or I don't know, he'd say, you always have to have an opinion. You have to have an opinion. You never say no to anything. You never say you don't know. But the only good thing that came out of that is now I make sure that when somebody asks my opinion of something, that I always have an opinion, or that I don't take the attitude and say, I don't know. And I try to always work with that. And then I decided that there weren't enough Jewish men in Des Moines, so I moved to Kansas City, where my brother and sister-in-law lived, and I went to some Jewish singles events, and I made a couple of good friends, and we would go to the events together. And she actually lives in St. Louis with her husband and kids. And while I was there at one of the parties, I met somebody who lived in my apartment complex. And he was, again, a Jewish lawyer. And I thought, perfect, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Because I kind of liked law. And I kind of thought about going to law school at one point. But it didn't work out. And he told me I was too clingy. And so he broke it off with me. And then I ended up moving back to Des Moines. And while I was there, I started teaching at Sunday school, at a Reformed Sunday school. My sister and I did. And the director told us about in the St. Louis Jewish JCC, in the Jewish Chronicle, they were talking about a singles cruise. So my sister and I decided to go, and the rest is history. And then I met your dad.
Okay.
And somebody said to me, some friends and I were talking one day, and I said, I don't remember what the subject was, but I said, I feel really lucky. And they said, why do you feel lucky? And I said, because I've raised nice Jewish kids, and they've continued to follow, and I enjoy the life we lead, and I enjoy the holidays. I don't mind all the hard work with cooking or putting up the sukkah or anything that goes along with that, because I'm very proud of who I am and who my family is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of who your family is too, mainly me.
Well, that's good. So those are my dating stories.
Okay, fine. So I guess you can tell the story. I'll have my dad tell the story too, but you can tell the story of how you met Dad.
Well, my sister and I,
because it is an interesting story. They came for Shabbat in my apartment in New York, and they spent the whole meal telling the story to a few of my friends. So, they were all fascinated by it.
I had moved to Kansas City when I decided that I didn't have so much of a Jewish life in Des Moines. So I moved there and lived there for 8 months and decided I was homesick. So I came back to Des Moines and started to teach at a Reform Sunday school. And while I was there, my sister also taught there, and the director of the school told us about a program that the St. Louis JCC was putting on, a singles cruise. So we signed up to go on the cruise. And while we were on the cruise, I met Rachel's father, and we were, the first time we had met, we were both going, the ship offered different excursions, and one of the excursions was to go snorkeling. and there were 3 boats that were going out snorkeling. So my sister had my dad's camera, and she was always having a problem with the camera. So Fred, it just so happened that Fred's roommate, Rachel's father's roommate, was helping her with the camera. So while we were going onto the boat, he was helping her with the camera, and we just happened to go on the same boat, and Rachel's father was talking to his roommate at the same time. So he happened to go on the same boat. So we get there, and
Oh, so it's all Aunt Gail's fault.
it's yes, it is. You can blame her next time. And we went to the other 2 boats, went out where there was the starfish, or not starfish, but they were getting stung by the
Stingrays?
not stingrays,
Jellyfish?
jellyfish. And so our boat was steered away from where they were going to be where the other 2 boats were. And we got out there and we got to scuba dive. And we got to see at the bottom of the ocean, they had there was a rice boat that had exploded. And so it had sunk. And so all of the remnants were on the bottom and the beautiful fish. And you don't have to go down very far to go snorkeling. You can just put your face in the water and see everything. So Rachel's dad decided he wanted to go and touch the bottom of the ocean. So he went down to the bottom while everybody else was drying off and had come up. He got there late and there were no towels left. So there was a spot next to me and I said, well, here, I have an extra towel, and I gave him my towel. Well, it just so happened that night he was at my table for dinner, and they had a theme every night where they did different things, maybe people whose birthdays were in the same month or lived in certain sections of the, geographically different areas that live close together, or different things, different themes. And he just happened to be at my table. So everybody was talking.
What did you have in common?
I don't remember if it was because his birthday is in April and my birthday's in December. So I don't remember if it was, geographically. I don't
Maybe
really
it was
remember
alphabetical order.
It could have been, except because my last name was Rosen at the time, so it could have been R and S.
Her last name starts with an R. Her maiden name starts with an R, and his last name starts with an S.
And so they, that night, people were talking about learning how to two-step. Or he wanted to learn how to two-step, and nobody knew. There were other men and women at our table, and I don't even think Aunt Gail was at our table. I think she was at a different table. I don't know why. So anyway, he wanted to learn how to two-step, and I wanted to learn how to two-step, so he told me to meet him in the disco at midnight. That's what they called it. And so we met at the disco at midnight. Never really learned how to two-step, but we did tequila shots.
Of course, that's pretty on brand.
And
when you guys meet my dad, you'll that's pretty on brand.
And we and then we ended up walking around the ship all night.
Not that he drinks a lot; he just likes tequila.
Yeah,
he's a tequila enthusiast.
That's why he's Mr. Margarita, right?
Yeah, he likes to make margaritas, but he also he likes working with the tequila too. Like he'll infuse it with hot pepper. It's good. He makes spicy tequila. So yeah, that's why it's on brand.
And so so we walked around the ship and then we were coming into Jamaica at the probably about 4:00 in the morning. So we walked around, would sit on the chairs, fall asleep, get up, walk around some more, and we got to see the city as it was starting to. All the lights were coming on into the city. It was beautiful, and then the rest of it was history. And then we went and toured Jamaica the next day, and then had a 2-year long-distance relationship where we only talked...
Wait, you can't say it yet.
What?
I mean, you can, I guess, but I'll ask you more questions.
Okay.
But, so, I have a question. When
Yes.
you signed up for this cruise,
Yes.
did you think that you would meet your husband?
No. I just went because I had just moved back from Kansas City, and I was upset with myself that I had moved away and then gave in and came back to Des Moines. So all I wanted was to meet people and to have a good time, which I really, really did, beside meeting your dad. So, and Aunt Gail went on a date with somebody while she was on the ship. They went to a movie one night, which didn't turn out to be her soulmate. And so no, we just went to have a good time. And I was upset. I was actually upset because I had a savings in my savings account, and I told the director that I'm spending all of my money on this cruise, and she looked at me and she said, "So what? You only live once." And I said, "True."
Yeah, and then you met Dad.
Yeah, then I was really in trouble.
Yeah.
Then I had Rachel.
Yeah, and then the real trouble started.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you just went on the cruise to have fun.
Yes.
Did you talk to any other guys on the boat aside from Dad?
Oh, yes. We had,
Did you meet any other people who could have potentially been my dad?
no, I did not. But we made a lot of friends, and people were really friendly. But I will say that because when you're on the ship, that they have the same waiters, and because you eat dinner at the same time, so you have the same waiters, and so they knew like they would have your drink waiting for you, and they kind of knew everything that you liked. They learned to do that so you didn't have to reorder everything, and then you order the food for the night or the day. So we were out on the private island of the ship at that time, and it was Labadee, Haiti, and one of the waiters was there, and he was flirting with me, and he had laid out in the sun, and he was a little drunk, and he laid out in the sun, and he had his hands covering his stomach, and he fell asleep. So by the time he caught up with me, he had this big mark of a white mark with his hands across his chest. But a lot of the waiters were really flirty with us, and none of the other members of the ship, none of the other people who went on the cruise were really potential dates, but everybody became friendly, and we made a lot of friends. So
was the whole cruise just Jewish singles?
No.
Or that was just one part?
It was one part. It was 200, it was like a 1,500 passenger ship, and there were 200 people that were Jewish singles. And they were all different. Like they even though it wasn't an observant cruise, and it wasn't through like an Orthodox organization, they still tried to, like they had the Shabbat meal, they had a service, and I guess other not just Orthodox will do the Shabbat service and the meal, but it was really nice because they really tried to make it special for the Jewish singles.
I feel like these things don't exist in the modern world, but I will just have all of you know that my grandma multiple times tells me, you should go on a cruise.
Yes.
You should go on a cruise. And my grandma thinks that a cruise is the answer to all my problems. So if there's a Jewish organization out there who wants to sponsor a Jewish singles cruise, yeah, I can promote you on the podcast. I mean, you have to pay me for it, but yeah, you can reach out to me at Shaky Situations Pod on Instagram or at shakysituationspod@gmail.com. I could be your poster girl.
Well, I will say, too, that your dad and I are going on, as you well know, your dad and I are going on another cruise. We haven't done that for 33 years.
Yeah, they're really, really rude. They're going on a cruise on my birthday, and they didn't invite me.
I did invite you after the fact.
After the fact. That wasn't a real invite. She's like, do you want to come? And I'm like...
Okay, there's a reason why we're going on a cruise. It's because I had a special birthday. Yes, I did turn 35 last December, and... So I've been trying to plan a special trip because I figured it was a very special birthday and I wanted to do something.
She finally turned 40.
Yes. And so that's why we did that. And then I was told by multiple people that that's Rachel's birthday.
Multiple people told you?
Yes.
Who else remembered that it was my birthday? Oh, her friend. Wait, how does your friend know my birthday?
She knows everything, remember?
She knows everything. That's true. She's probably listening to this podcast. So, Mom, you can give her a shout out, and I give you a shout out, too. Thanks for remembering my birthday.
And so, yes, it was rude of us, but it took me a long time to plan this trip, so I just took the...
Maybe you'll meet a husband.
True. Maybe I'll meet a soulmate. For Rachel.
Oh, yeah, but maybe for yourself, too.
Yes.
I'm just kidding, everybody. My parents are still married. My dad's in the other room. I told him he has to be quiet because he's watching a game, and I told him he's not allowed to answer his phone while we're recording. So don't worry, my parents are fine, unless my mom meets the man of her dreams. But if you do, can you make him rich? Like, just make sure it's a rich guy.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, who wants to adopt an adopted just help out his stepdaughter.
Well,
adult stepdaughter.
And I apologize that my life isn't as exciting as you thought it was. I know all these years now, Rachel has found out the truth about me.
I know. Ugh. Wonder if my kids will be as disappointed
I don't think so.
In 30 years.
I don't think so, Rachel.
Yeah, we'll see. No, I live a weird life. But on that note, I think it's time for us to take a break so we can hear a word from our sponsors. So we'll be right back. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Are you tired of swiping on dating apps? Tired of guessing whether the cute guy or girl you keep seeing around is Jewish and or single? Then you need to run, not walk, to join Corona Crush. Corona Crush is a Jewish organization working to create Jewish couples always. Corona Crush has over 30 confirmed engagements, over 22,000 members from all over the world, and has set up over 50,000 speed dates. Join the Corona Crush Facebook group and post yourself or have a friend post you and see who reaches out. Fill out the survey to sign up for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. Corona Crush is 100% free and 100% Jewish. Worst case, you end up with some stories of your own. Best case, you find the love of your life. Try it out today. Here on Sticky Situations, we tend to focus on bad dating stories, but sometimes dates do go well and lead to proposals and weddings. Who would have thought? And what do all of those require, you might be asking? Well, the answer is flowers. Who doesn't want flowers from someone they've been seeing? Don't forget, flower petals and bouquets needed for proposals. And that's even before all the flowers that go into weddings. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Primrose Flower Shop. In my opinion, Primrose is the coolest flower shop around and has the best customer service to fulfill all of your floral needs. Primrose offers a range of services from your basic bouquets to subscription services where you can get flowers delivered once a week. They deliver all over the tri-state area, including Manhattan. Primrose does weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and other simchas. I've personally been to a wedding where Primrose did the flowers, and the work they did was beyond gorgeous. Primrose additionally offers in-store proposals, including a romantic setup with candles and music. Primrose is located at 2922 Avenue M in Brooklyn, and the phone number is 929-376-9815. You can also follow Primrose on Instagram at PrimroseNY. So, if you can't get someone out of your head, buy them some flowers from Primrose. They'll either love it or they'll find you really creepy. But regardless, the flowers will be out of this world. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so you already know the end of the story. The end of the story is she married him and had the most wonderful child a little after their 3rd-year anniversary. You could tell that story. You just told this story to my sister-in-law last night, but we'll get there. Okay, so what was it like? You met him on this boat, and then what happened?
So he lived in...
fill in the 33 years later.
Okay. He lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and I lived in Des Moines, Iowa. And he would call me once a week on Monday evening, and at the time, long distance was cheaper after 11 o'clock. So I had to... PM, and I was on Central Time, and he was on Eastern Time. So I waited until 11 o'clock his time, which was 10 o'clock my time. And we would talk, and... I guess you could consider this a funny date, but every time he talked to me, he was watching Monday Night Football.
Oh, God.
And I put up with it. I sat there and I listened to him give me play-by-play. Did I learn anything about football? No. But
he still gives us play-by-plays of sports. He'll tell me and my mom play-by-plays of games. And I'm like, Dad, we don't care.
And so...
But he still tells us.
So we dated... And then we would see each other once a month, but then there was at one time where there was a 6-month stretch where we didn't see each other.
That's a long time.
But when we would see each other, he would come in or I would go there or we would go on trips. One time he gave me a trip. My Hanukkah present was a trip to New York. His sister lived in New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey. And we went in to go see her for a long weekend, which was really nice.
She doesn't live there anymore.
No, she's in Atlanta, Georgia. And we would go to different places. He had a trade show in California, and his cousin lived in Yorba Linda, which is a part of close to LA. So we would go and see the sights. And I think one time we even went to Disneyland. I went there with a friend of mine who lived there, and that was actually after we got married. So after 2 years, we met in February, and 2 years after we met, I went to Louisville and was visiting, and my sister was dating at the time. She met her husband, and he would come to Des Moines every weekend to see her, and he would call every night. And so he came in that weekend that I was in Louisville, and my parents called me the next day, or my sister called me the next day. On Sunday, they actually called, and I told Rachel's dad that, you know, we'd been dating for 2 years, and there was a bridal show coming up, and I really wanted to go look at dresses, and we'd been talking about getting engaged. And I said, is it time for me to go look at the dresses? He said, yes. And then he proposed to me that night. So we called my parents the next day, and my brother happened to be in town, and my sister and her fiance at the time, we didn't know that it was her fiance. They got engaged the same weekend.
Talk about stealing your spotlight.
Yes. She was 2 years younger, and they had been dating for 2 months, and Rachel's dad and I had been dating for 2 years. So my brother looked up, and he said, thank you, God, for letting it happen to both of them instead of Gail getting engaged before Shelley, because that really would have been a disaster. Because I told my mom before I went in, we either get engaged this weekend or I break it off, because I had been going to singles events and I had been meeting people, and I kind of pushed them away because I didn't want to date anyone.
You went to singles events while you were dating Dad?
I didn't know if it was a long distance.
That's true. And he only called you once a week. You guys know my thing. If I don't hear from you in 48 hours, you're done.
Yeah.
Unless you're in the hospital.
So I told my mom, I said, we either get engaged this weekend. We either get engaged this weekend. Are you, what?
No, I'm saying my 48-hour rule, unless it's a holiday also. But yeah, 48-hour rule. If I don't hear from you in 48 hours, it's it. That's over. Yeah.
That's good now. I mean,
I'm high maintenance. I need attention.
You know what I am, Rachel, so.
Yeah, you are. I'm actually not that high maintenance, and I don't need constant attention. I just like it. My mom knows that.
Yes, I know. But Rachel doesn't need, I do things for Rachel because I want to, not because
No, I'm very self-sufficient.
Yes.
I said, I'm not actually high maintenance. I just have standards.
Right.
Yeah, and those standards include a 2-carat diamond, calling me every day, or at least texting, taking me on dates.
Well, that's just it. We didn't
not calling me while you're doing something else, like watching football.
That's just it. We really didn't have dates. We would see each other for long, intense weekends. So we would go places, but it wasn't like a date where he picked me up or anything. So we never really had a date until we got married.
Oh, so what was your first date?
I mean, we went out. We went out when we were together, and we went, we went to nice places. Like I said, he took me to New York, and we went to California, and we did a lot of things while we were there, but it wasn't like somebody who's dating where they come and pick you up.
Credit card debt.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't pay off my credit card debt till after we got married.
Yeah, but didn't he pay it off?
Yeah, but it was really, yes, but it was
not
funny.
That it was a lot.
I had like a $200 or $300 credit card debt, and we got the bill, and he said, you call them right now and pay it off. And I said, we have that much money to pay it off? I really didn't know much about money. I had a credit card.
Don't worry, everybody. I got my financial knowledge from my dad.
I had a credit card.
When I opened my credit card, my dad's like, okay, you pay this whole statement off every month.
I had a credit card that I had for a department store, and my mom was a co-signer on it, and she got the bill, and she goes, are you making payments on this credit card? I said, do I have to?
My brother gets his financial knowledge from my mom.
I know much better now.
I get it from my dad.
I know much better.
He's a little more financially savvy.
Yeah, well, I know much better now than I did before. So So anyway, then we got engaged and we got married.
So how long were you engaged?
We got engaged in...
Wait, so you met in February. Then you got engaged when?
2 years later.
In February?
In February.
In February.
And then we got married in October.
Okay.
And so we had... we lived here. I didn't work. I traveled with her dad for his job. I traveled for her with his job, and so we got to go to like Boston and Georgia, California. We went a lot of places. We either drove or we flew, and it was really nice. And then I kind of settled down, and I got a job, and it was all part-time and all temporary. I didn't have to work until the kids got a little older, and then something kind of fell into my lap. So when we were in, I was 8.5 months pregnant, and every year her dad would send me a dozen red roses for our anniversary. And on the third year, right before Rachel was born, I said, "Where are my roses?" And he said, "We can't afford roses. We have to save for private school." And that was it.
And then they had me.
And then I had Rachel, and then I know why we had to save for private school.
Yeah.
And other things.
Yeah.
And she was adorable. We just found a picture of Rachel when she was in one of her Barney costume roaring, and she is adorable.
Oh, yeah. I was at my friend's house, and she said she found a picture in her dad's office. And it was of me and her and a couple other kids who we have no idea who they are. And I'm in it was on Purim, so I'm in a costume roaring. I was in a Baby Bop costume, and Baby Bop is a dinosaur. So I was roaring. I think she's a dinosaur. I don't know. I think so. And I was roaring, and this picture was hanging in my friend's dad's office. My friend, you can't even see her face in the picture. She's hiding behind me, which is also kind of an accurate depiction of our relationship. Like, I'm the one roaring, and she's hiding behind me.
She did?
She's hiding from the camera.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm, like, in front and center in front of the camera in character, and she's, like, hiding behind me, which is fine.
When we got married, my sister also got engaged, I told you before. And my parents and my sister wanted to have a double wedding, and I said no. I said, I've been dating Fred for 2 years, and she was dating her fiance for 2 months. And I said, I want my own wedding. So she got married in August, and we got married in October.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a double wedding either.
But now I kind of look back, and I think it would have been kind of fun.
Unless I was a twin.
That would have been, yeah.
But no, that wouldn't have been fun.
No. I don't know. I didn't, at the time I was being selfish, but anyway, so, and now we have Rachel.
Yeah, 29 years later.
Yes, almost.
Oh, and I have a brother too, but he matters a lot less than me.
In Rachel's eyes.
I'm the star. Listen, I remind them constantly that I'm going to be the one to take care of them when they're old.
Yeah, that's true. But we're never going to get old.
I tell my dad that I'm going to be the one to come in and clean this house out. I tell him everything. I'm going to just throw it away. What I'm going to fix up. Yeah, they don't like it. He doesn't like when I say that, but that's what I remind them of.
So do you have any other questions for me?
What about when you went to, I remember hearing the story of when you went to, was it Aunt Rita's wedding?
Oh, yes.
My dad's sister.
So Aunt Rita got married a year before we did. And when I came to, her dad brought me to pick me up at the airport. And, before that, I'll tell you the story about that later. But, so he brought me to Atlanta where she was getting married, picked me up at the airport. So we were a few minutes late to the rehearsal dinner. And we walked in, and his aunt was there, and his aunt was kind of the matriarch of the family, she's passed away, and she kind of eyed me a little bit because he had never brought a girl to meet the family before. So while we were there, I got to participate in all of the activities, went to on Saturday with the bride,
Shabbos Kala.
Thank you. And we were sitting around, and everybody was talking.
Which, wait, for those of you who don't know what a Shabbos Kala is, usually it's like when a Jewish person's getting married, the Shabbat before the wedding, she'll gather with her mom and her mom's friends, like just a bunch of women, her friends, and just like a little party on Shabbat. Some people do various things for it. It's not really, like, it's just traditional to have it, but it's not, I don't think there's like a set thing that people do. Usually like telling stories.
Kind of telling people, like they'll sometimes have games, they have food. The women kind of give, sometimes I've been to parties where they say, give advice on marriage, like different things. Not really big advice, but just little tidbits and different things. So we went and I got back and he asked me, he goes, well, what did you talk about? And I said, your sister. He said, did anybody ask if we were getting married? I said, I was not the center of attention.
How long into dating was this?
A year.
Oh.
I said, I was not the center of attention. Your sister was. Nobody paid attention to me. So it was the first time I'd been to an Orthodox wedding, though. And it was the most beautiful and most entertaining I've ever seen. So, but before that, when I went to go visit him one time, we had met in February and I went to visit him over Labor Day. And I went to Louisville and then he's from Somerset, Kentucky, which is close to Lake Cumberland.
He's from a very small town in southern Kentucky, which is close to a lake where people have lake houses.
Okay.
And go and boat on the lake.
So he told his parents that Shelley and I are coming to Somerset over Labor Day, and they said, oh, that's really nice. And they got off the phone and they said, who's Shelley? And so we came there and I met his parents, and his mom likes to paint. She used to paint on clothing and she paints on canvases and everything too. And so she said, oh, well, they had a store that sold, high school and college paraphernalia, like the T-shirts. They would print the T-shirts. They had women's shoes. They had some jeans. And so his mom said, well, I have some of my clothing there that I've painted. Would you like to go and pick something out? I said, sure, that would be really, really nice. So we're driving in the car and she goes, so how long have you been dating? How long have you known each other? She didn't know we were dating. She said, how long?
I feel like this is I can see this conversation happening between like you and Shayna. Between you and my sister-in-law.
Right. Well, but Alec did tell us about her.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was there because I told him he had to.
And
I couldn't keep it a secret anymore.
And so she said,
and I only knew because I asked him a question and he told me. So.
Oh, you didn't know he was dating her?
No. Well, I asked him, I think one of my friends wanted to set him up with someone, so I asked him, he's like, actually, I'm dating someone. And then he brought her for Shabbat dinner, and I'm like, okay.
Oh.
Because he used to come to my apartment, like, every week for, like, Shabbat meals.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So she...
And I told him that he had to tell you guys.
Thank you, Rachel. If it wasn't for Rachel, things would not happen in our family.
I also found out he was getting when he was proposing because of his Amazon orders, because we all share an Amazon Prime account.
I kind of noticed too.
And I told him that he had to tell Mom or else she's going to be really mad.
Well, and as it was, we didn't even come in for the L'chaim.
It was COVID.
Yeah,
and
but
we were all of us were coming home like 3 days later.
So
I was there. I made cupcakes.
That was very nice, Rachel.
I know. I'm just such a great person.
You are a great person.
See what the great person that you raised?
I know that, Rachel. I said you're my... I always say that Rachel's...
everybody listening out there, don't you want this as your mother-in-law?
Oh,
like you can ask... I mean, all the eligible, normal, single males. Not... I don't date females. I'm sorry. I wish, but made my life easier, but can't help. Ask my sister-in-law. My parents are, like, very chill in-laws.
Yes.
My dad will do tequila shots with you.
And we leave you alone.
Yeah, and my mom's chill.
Rachel tried to accuse me of butting into her life one time, and I said I only did it one time.
Yeah, but except for the other night when I thought she was looking at my texts.
I would never. I always give her space. I always give her privacy.
Yeah, she's not even allowed to listen to this podcast.
She wouldn't even tell us the name of it for the longest time. I don't know. So to finish my story...
But I did tell her before I said it, so her laughing is just because I'm hilarious. She thinks I'm hilarious.
I do think she's hilarious.
Just like everyone else. I mean, I think I'm hilarious.
So to finish my story, though, so we were at the store, and his mom said, so how long have you known each other? I said, has Fred not told you anything about me? She said, no. I said, well, we met on a singles cruise, and we've had a long-distance relationship since. She said, we just didn't know. All we know is he was bringing Shelley to Somerset, and we didn't know who Shelley was. But I have a good relationship with her also, with them.
Yes, that's true.
I'm a very good, not only am I a good mother-in-law, I'm a good daughter-in-law, and a very good mother.
Listen, I was thinking about asking Grandma to come on the podcast, but I'm pretty sure Grandpa's the only guy she dated, because she got married when she was like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could ask her to come on. Maybe I'll feel it out next time I see her.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Maybe you'll hear from my grandma. Probably not, but maybe.
I did have one wild story that I
Okay.
just remembered.
Okay, share it with everyone.
Well, my friends and I used to like to go hang out at this one bar, but it wasn't even like a bar that was wild, but it was in a hotel, and it was pretty calm, and we met these guys who, one of them was a tattoo artist or something, and my friends and I kind of went out with them one time, or twice. We went out with them twice. That was as wild as I got. But I was a rebellion. My mom didn't even know what I did half the time.
Yeah, bless
But
her
it's
heart.
different. It's different. Yeah, may she rest in peace. Yeah, poor grandma.
Poor Grandma.
Poor grandma wanted one thing, and I ended up being the only one who actually gave it to her.
What?
A Jewish life.
That's true. That is true. No offense to any of my cousins.
No,
and
we
uncles
love
or
all of our
distant
family
listening, but
Right.
yeah. Oh well.
Do you have any of your family listening?
I don't know. If they are, they haven't told me.
Oh.
They're just sneaking. I mean, you can tell me if you listen, but sharing all my secrets. But yeah, but Grandma also had a whirlwind romance that nobody can beat the Grandma and Grandpa love story.
Oh, that's sweet, Rachel.
Honestly, I don't think I could have my grandpa on to tell the story on the podcast. I don't think he can tell the story
Without cry.
crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my
which is
grandma's
really
dead.
sweet. She passed away 5 years ago.
Yeah, so he would, and that just shows that true love does exist, whether I find it or not. But yeah, they have a very sweet story. They met in, well, we can just tell it quickly. We have a little bit of time. They met in, my grandpa, this is one of my favorite stories. My grandpa came from the Bronx, New York, to Des Moines, Iowa for medical school. And he calls up the rabbi and asks for some Jewish girls to date. And the rabbi gives him a list of girls. And he called the first girl, and she didn't answer. And then he called the second girl, and it was my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they dated, and then we actually, when I think it was after Grandma died, we were looking through stuff in the apartment, or Grandpa found it, and they started dating, and then he went back to New York for the first summer. He was in medical school, so they were long distance, and they would write letters back and forth to each other, and they were love letters. So it was very sweet, and she always sealed each one with her kiss. And Grandma always loved lipstick.
Yes.
So she always had a kiss on it.
Yes.
And I'm like, if it weren't, I don't know. I feel like it's like mushy and gross, but also it's very cute.
Yes. Well, they also got married. Grandma was 19.
Yeah.
And Grandpa was 21.
Yeah. I'm a little bit past 19, so maybe I should just gotten married at 19.
It could have been.
Yeah.
But how?
I don't know. Maybe I should have found a medical student.
That would have been great.
And I could have been the second number that he called.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, their 60th wedding anniversary, we all joked that it's a good thing that first girl didn't answer the phone. But yeah.
Yeah. His butterfly.
Yeah. That's my grandma. Grandma, shout out in heaven.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other stories you want to share before we get to our closing?
I think that's about it. Like you said before, my life was pretty boring. I mean, it was kind of...
Until she had me.
I did sneak around a little bit.
She got kicked out of college.
Well, that's because my grades were not good, because I didn't know how to study, because my kids were much better students than I was. But my first year, freshman year of college, I didn't make the grades, so I got asked not to come back for a year. I got put on probation for my first semester, got asked not to come back after my second semester. So I ended up going to a private university in Des Moines called Drake University, and I graduated with a business degree, marketing emphasis, and decided that I wanted to become a paralegal. So went back 3 years later, became a paralegal, and I've been working with a law firm, the same attorneys, not the same law firm, because they've moved law firms, for the last 21 years. So I haven't done too bad.
No, I mean, the highlight of your life was obviously having me. It
was, Rachel. And my life before, I was a little, I did have a kind of a wild streak a little bit, but not very much. I was dressed up like Boy George and did a lip sync competition. So,
did you win?
I came in second.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No. And I snuck around a lot when I was dating. So, but never really any funny dating
snuck
story.
around Grandma and Grandpa because she lived in their house.
Yes.
That's part of it. She lived at home. That was the problem.
That was the problem.
And her two older siblings already did the rebellious thing, so Grandma and Grandpa were extra strict on her.
Yes. Although they kind of eased up a little bit when I went to go visit your dad. They never...
I think they just wanted to get you married.
Probably.
Like, if I told you I was going to visit a boy, would you care?
Rachel, I've never been like that, though.
That's
I've never been...
Also, would I tell you?
You could, yeah. You
could.
I
probably would.
Yeah. I mean...
I don't really keep secrets. As you guys know from this podcast, I'm a pretty open book.
And and as you know from this podcast, from this session of this podcast, I'm a pretty cool mom.
Yeah, sometimes. Okay, Mom.
Yes.
Can you give my listeners a piece of dating advice? Even though it's been a long time since you dated and you married Dad, so I don't know how credible you are.
Okay. I would say...
That was a joke, everybody. She was supposed to laugh.
What'd you say?
I said, even though you married Dad, so I don't know how credible you are.
Yeah, well, you learn a lot after 31 years.
31?
It's going to be 32 in
32. So why
in October.
Oh, you knew him for 33 years. 33 and a half years. I should have known. I should have calculated backwards from my age, but whatever. Not backwards. Calculated from my age.
Right.
So I was born right after their third anniversary.
Right.
I'm not 30 yet.
Well, today's world is a lot different than it was when I was dating. And all I can say is just be careful and get to know who you're dating, and not just be very careful and enjoy while you're dating. Have a good time, love life, and do everything you can to enjoy every minute of it.
And if there's a cruise, go on it.
Definitely go on it, because I got out of that cruise and for 2 weeks I was walking on air, and it wasn't because I met your dad. It's because it was the best it was the best vacation I'd ever taken. So, of course, it was probably the only vacation I'd ever taken. No, actually not, because I used to go on ski trips with my friends. So I went to Colorado a lot of times, but this was amazing. And I just had such a good time. So,
and she got me out of it.
Yes.
What's the word I'm looking for?
My prize?
No, like order of events.
Oh, yeah.
Or I don't know. The events leading it all led up to having me, which again, highlight of her life. Having me as her child.
Rachel is I told Rachel that I think she is a woman that I admire and that I look up to.
She told me that I'm her role model.
Yeah, she is my role model.
Well, my mom is my role model for the most part.
Aww.
Except for what she's going to tell you in her tagline.
Yes.
Her flaw. Her biggest flaw. Okay, so should we get there?
Only if you're ready for it.
Okay, Mom. What is your Real Housewife tagline?
People say I'm a pushover, but that I have a good heart.
And it's true. She is a pushover, but she does have a good heart. I tell her she's a pushover all the time.
I am a pushover.
And she is. She even says,
I
and like
am.
I'm like, Mom, why'd you agree to that? And she's like, because I'm a pushover.
even at Shoal the other day when we were walking in, and
We walked in. Was it on Rosh Hashanah?
Yes.
It was on Rosh Hashanah. We walked in during the rabbi's speech. So there are people like guarding the door, and we walk in, and the guy's like trying to usher us. The way the shul is laid out, the men's section is in the middle, and the women's sections are along both sides. So we usually sit on the further side from the door. And by usually, I mean like the couple times that I go to shul while I'm here, because I don't like going to shul while I'm here. It has nothing to do with religion. It's not my vibe. Shul in general I like, just not here. Also, I just go hang out with my friend and her babies. But it was Rosh Hashanah, so we had to go to shul. And my mom is leading the way because, like, I don't know where to sit. The shul was extra crowded because we always get a lot more people on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So I'm like, I don't know where you sit or where you're wanting to sit, but I know it wasn't on the side closest to the door. It was on the further side. But the guy was like ushering us, and the guy has no authority over us. I don't even remember who it was, but like he has no authority over us. My mom was just like listening to him. I'm like, no, Mom, just walk to the side where you want to sit, and let's go sit where we want to sit. Because then we went to the side, and then we sat, and then she's like, the rabbi's speech ended, and then she's like, okay, do you want to go to the other side? I'm like, yes. Why are we on this side? So she is a pushover.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to my brother.
Oh, please. I do for you too.
Yeah, but I don't ask or make ridiculous demands.
Well, okay, when it comes to my family, I'm even more of a pushover. I was even a pushover when Grandpa tried to keep, when I wanted to put the cat over at the vet.
Yeah, my grandpa used to have an evil cat. He died, thank God. Because he was evil. I wouldn't, like, say, like, oh, yeah, thank God this animal died. But only because he was evil. Like, my dad took him off. He was sitting on the couch one time, and my dad put him off the couch because a person wanted to sit. So later that night, while we were all asleep, he pooped on that one seat on the couch. That cat was just evil. Yeah, so he peed all over our house and, like, scratched up our furniture. So my mom told my grandpa that he couldn't come. And then my mom was such a pushover.
Well, I made an appointment for him at the vet to have him housed while Grandpa was here, and Grandpa kept saying, please, I said, when are you going to take him over? Oh, well, I'll take him tomorrow. And then for 3 nights, he kept saying, I'll take him tomorrow. And finally he said, please, he's been really good. Can I just keep him here? And I said, okay. And then Rachel flipped. Mom, you're being a pushover again.
I'm a firm believer, and you need to stand your ground.
I know. It's just sometimes hard depending on who it is.
No, you complied with the guy in the shul.
I know, that's true.
Anyone.
I know.
Yeah, but it's okay. I would say she's working on it, but I think she's not.
After 40 years.
After 40 years of life of being a pushover, you can't change her. But just know, everybody, that I am not a pushover because I got my dad's personality.
She's got my looks, though.
I got her looks, and I have her heart, probably. But
she does have my heart.
But I'm not a pushover.
So just be careful when you're dating. It's a crazy world now. Have a good time, and good luck to all of you.
Yes, and if you want someone to come to your wedding, my mom will be there.
Yes, I will.
They travel for all weddings.
We do.
And they give me rides.
We do.
If you're going to invite me to your wedding, invite my parents too, because they'll most likely be giving me a ride. They'll drive into New York City and give me a ride.
Yeah. We have fun.
Yeah, we like weddings in our family. They're a lot of fun. Also, I'm starting Simcha reviews, speaking of. So, if you would like to have your Simcha reviewed, I'm going to start Simcha reviews on my TikTok account, which I actually already did, and my mom is, like, getting mad because it was kind of mean, but it was, like, mean on purpose because it's, like, it's supposed to be, like, 4 weddings, the show on TLC where 4 brides go to each other's weddings and rate them, but they're all really catty about it because they're all trying to win the honeymoon for themselves. But, yeah, so we were just extra harsh with it. We went to a Simcha, and we decided it's a niche market that hasn't been explored yet, so we're doing Simcha reviews. So if you would like to have your Simcha reviewed, you can contact me. Again, the contact information is you can DM me on Instagram at StickySituationsPod, Or you can send me an email at stickySituationsPod@gmail.com, and that goes for anything you might want to contact me for. If you have any comments on the podcast, if you'd like to be a guest on my podcast, if you'd like to date me or any of my single guests on this podcast, but those have applications, just remember. I'm also making an application for guests, so there might be an application for that too. It's not going to be anything like crazy, but just letting you know, you might have to fill out a Google form. And if you would like to invite me to your sim class so I can review it on the TikTok account. So everyone, remember to like us on social media, follow us, like, whatever, you know the drill. Mom, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
It's been a pleasure. Everyone, now you get a little bit of more of a look of where I came from, but just wait until my dad comes on.
Oh, you'll see how Rachel has two sides of herself.
Yes. I come from two very, very different people.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But anyway, everyone, until next time, catch me next time.
Good night.
Bye.